Hi everyone, I'm Shaylin here with Reedsy. So today we're going to be talking about how to write a logline. A logline is a single sentence pitch that conveys the hook and essence of your story. It's a really important pitching tool and one you probably want to have sitting around for when it becomes relevant, but because it's so short, it can be challenging to write. Pitching your novel is a notoriously difficult thing, and typically writers struggle more with pitches the shorter they are, meaning that loglines, despite being only one sentence, are usually the most difficult form of pitch to write. You often use a logline as the first sentence of a pitch in a query letter, or you use it to pitch your book in some kind of condensed format, say in a Twitter pitch contest. Not to mention, people are going to ask you what your book is about, so it's nice to be able to tell them in a succinct format, rather than just kind of stumbling through a rambling explanation of your book's plot for 5 minutes, which I think we've all done. But besides just being a helpful pitching tool, a logline is also a really helpful story development tool. It's a sign of a really solidified concept. If you can explain it in just a single sentence, it shows that you know the purest essence of your story and can kind of hone in on that and know what is central to your story's key hook and concept and what is developmental detail that is important to the story but doesn't need to be in the logline. A logline shows an element of focus to the concept, and if you find yourself unable to write one, it could be a sign that there's a lack of focus to your concept, that the concept is maybe a little muddled, or that it's lacking a hook. Because of that, a solid logline is also a sign to agents and editors who might read this logline that you have a clear vision for your book. A succinct and effective logline is a sign that you know the story you want to tell, rather than having an unfocused vision that still needs refining. So first of all, what shouldn't you include in a logline? These are some common logline mishaps. They're things that can be easily misinterpreted as a logline, but these things are not actually loglines, so this is what you want to avoid. First of all is a tagline. Taglines are catchy phrases that you see on the cover of a book, or maybe as the first line of a book's marketing blurb. For example, this tagline from Divergent by Veronica Roth, "She turns to face the future in a world that's falling apart." This features on the cover, but it doesn't tell you what the book is about. It's just kind of catchy. The next thing you want to avoid is some kind of just general platitude or statement of emotion. Saying something like, "She will learn the true meaning of family." This isn't a logline. It's a statement of the emotional or thematic arc, but just stating the emotional endpoint or the moral of your story isn't a logline. That's the theme, but it's not the concept, and that's what we want to be showcasing. Third would be a rhetorical question. You don't want your logline to be phrased as a rhetorical question that's basically just telling you to read on and find out. For example, can he both save his true love and win the competition? This could be rephrased into a logline because it is starting to hint at elements of the story, but loglines just simply shouldn't be phrased as rhetorical questions, inviting you to read the book. They should invite you to read the book by the fact that they're showcasing an interesting hook. You also don't want to include any kind of long explanation. A logline is simply too short to be going into the details of your story or your book. You also don't want it to be factual or without tone. Even though the logline is so short, you can still include the tone of your story in order to make it sound engaging. It's not just a purely factual thing. It should still include elements of tone in order to sound engaging, even in such a short space. A thriller with a really intense plot might capture that intensity in the logline. Whereas if you're writing kind of a more whimsically toned romance novel, the tone of the logline might be lighter and more kind of wistful. You also don't want to avoid the actual good stuff. This is the time to showcase the hook. So let's go into the structure of a logline. Loglines are extremely short, but they actually do have a pretty simple structure that you can follow in order to write one effectively. So the structure is going to be made up of the following 4 elements. First of all, what is the story's world? You want to capture the setting specifically, but in very few words. Is it a futuristic setting? Is it a medieval fantasy setting? Is it an isolated cabin in the woods? You only need a few words to do this, but you do want to establish the world. Second of all would be a protagonist with a problem. Identify the protagonist through some kind of key indicator, but don't use their name, but identify some kind of problem that they have, such as that they're angry about their past or they're sheltered and naive. This shows that there's some kind of emotional turmoil going on within them that a reader can relate to, and that's going to be challenged and developed throughout the story. Third would be goal and conflict. What is this character's goal? What challenges do they face? Establish what they want and what's trying to stop them. For example, they need to rescue the stolen treasure to save their family, but an angry wizard is trying to stop them. This identifies both a goal and an obstacle, and ideally that goal should be a tangible human antagonist, not kind of just a vague force. And finally, number 4 would be choice and active decision making. What key choice is this story leading towards? Show that the protagonist is going to make an active choice and that it's going to be meaningful to the story. So let's look at an example. This is a logline for Jessica Jones, and this was written by Jeff Lyons from our webinar on crafting a logline, which I'll leave linked below. It's a really great example that shows this structure really well. So let's kind of break it down. In a world where supers hide in the shadows, a woman with super strength and anger issues discovers the supervillain who once forced her to kill against her will is still alive and must decide whether to run for her life or find and kill him before he enslaves her again. There's so much information packed into this very short logline. So we have a statement of world. In a world where supers hide in the shadows, this shows us that we're in some kind of world with supernatural people and they're not accepted by general society. Then we're introduced to our character, a woman with super strength and anger issues. We also see that she has some kind of emotional problem, discovers the supervillain, which is the statement of the antagonist, who once forced her to kill against her will is still alive, which now shows us the challenge and conflict. And then we're shown the crucial choice she's going to have to make. She must decide whether to run for her life or find and kill him again. This logline also ramps it up by even including kind of the stakes before he enslaves her again. So we managed to get so much information in just a very, very short space, and by following this structure for a logline, you can actually convey a lot about your story in one line. Remember, if it's just one line, it only needs to convey the very general essence of your story. The thing that writers struggle with the most when writing pitches or loglines is that there's a lot of information that they're very excited about and they want to be in the logline, but it's not the core central concept. You really only need to show the core central concept, and then you can expand on that in a longer pitch, and then of course you can expand on that fully in your book. So thank you so much for watching. Remember to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any new videos from us. We've got new writing, editing, and publishing tips every Tuesday and Friday. Until next time, bye!